Right, okay, so for episode 48, I'm not at home. I'm actually in Malden and I'm with a good friend. A man who's going to be jumping into the deep end in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship for 2024. Scott Sumpton, welcome to episode 48 of Commentator's Corner. How are things, mate? You keeping well?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And yeah, no, all good. Really, really looking forward to this coming season. And yeah, just can't wait to get underway.
Well, let's get into everything. Let's talk about you, your career, and obviously looking forward to what's going to be a fantastic season. Of course, nearly 30 cars on the British Touring Car Championship grid, which gets underway at Donington Park in the last weekend of April this year, 26th and 27th. But you started back in karting, and you got bitten by the bug. You wanted to race, and your dad took you down to where Lewis Hamilton and Ash Sutton both plied their trade initially, Rye House Kart Raceway in Hoddesdon. Looking back over those years in karting, you competed in the London Cup back in 2019 when I had the opportunity of commentating on you as a junior Rotax driver. You've raced with Paul James at Ambition Motorsport and also competed in the Super One Series, which at the time was the British Kart Championship. Just remind us of some of the fond days of being able to go around to all these tracks around the UK and compete with some of the young drivers who are in your age bracket, such as Dan Ginchard and a few others that have made the move to other categories such as single-seaters, GT4s and touring cars.
Yeah, no, takes me back. But no, the karting days were like the very, very good days. Yeah, starting off at Rye House, that's where I first started in little corporate karts, just trying to get my eye in, seeing if I liked it. And then it was actually for my birthday that my dad bought me my first go-kart from Rye House.
Okay.
Actually, I think it was off of Ash Sutton. So yeah, no. So we started there, just a cadet club on the Wednesday after school, and then that's when we met a person called Lewis Hall who started up Virtus Motorsport.
Mhm.
So there was me, Oliver Behrman, who's actually in F2 at the moment,
And currently testing as well with a
currently
new
testing.
2024 F2 car. Yeah.
Yeah, uh, yeah, no, Frankie Taylor as well. There was a good group of us back in the Honda Cadets, and that's where it first started. Like my first proper love of racing, uh, just going out, being in a good environment with a good team,
Mhm.
and yeah, moving on to Junior X30 and Junior Road Tax with Ambition Motorsport, Paul James. Again, to be fair, from the Honda Cadet to the Junior, that was a big step up. But loved the karting days, and I'd like to get back out into a go kart, but I don't think I'd be able to handle them.
You probably have to get into something like a senior Rotax or possibly a shifter kart, that kind of thing, because that's what a lot of the some of the drivers do, like say Pierre Gasly, Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen, if they get the opportunities to get into a kart and get into a full blown KZ with a 6 speed sequential gearbox. But then, of course, moving up from there, you went into the Junior Saloon Car Championship, which has been part and part of the grassroots ladder, moving up the order from karting to tin tops, effectively. And of course, you started in the JSCC back in 2020, and of course, the pandemic hit. The season got off to a delayed and slow start, let's say. But of course, you weren't able to test the vehicle that year. But whilst learning the car in the JSCC, which if I remember correctly was a Citroen Saxo, like a VTR or
Yeah,
something like that, very different proposition to karting. When you actually got behind the wheel, you were learning on the fly. You didn't have any pre-season testing because we were all locked in our houses for 3 months. No one was really able to travel to circuits or travel out of the locality. How interesting was that for you as a driver to have a bit of a challenge to muster up to?
it was very interesting. Yeah, so I passed my ARDS test just before COVID, and
Mm-hmm.
then COVID hit. The season didn't start. I think it got pushed back a bit, so I didn't actually have any testing whatsoever from COVID happening until the first round. Uh, and it was very difficult. Of course, you have to like spatial awareness with go karts where it's very small. You just overtake and then you'd be past them. Whereas in the cars, you've got to get a full car's width and different things like that. And also dealing with the transfer of weight. Whereas the go kart, you don't have any suspension whatsoever.
Yeah.
It is very very planted with the sack. So it was like the body roll and stuff like that. Although it's not massive in terms for a car, it was from moving from a go-kart to never even tested a Saxo. But no, it was a struggle. Both the 2020 and 2021 season, just trying to get my foot in of how the car actually works. But once it got to the end of 2021, I was sort of getting a good idea of how the car works and how I should be driving it. And yeah, I think the JSCC is a very, very good championship to like grassroots level for cars and junior drivers. And yeah, it was an amazing championship. I really enjoyed those 2 years.
And then, of course, at the end of 2021, it then facilitated your move up the next step of the ladder as in tin tops, because you got behind the wheel of the iconic Audi RS3 Gen 1 TCR car at Donington. And then you then talked to the Kent family at Essex and Kent Motorsport. Obviously, Lewis, multi-time TCR UK, two-time TCR UK champion. Brad was piloting his trade last year in the good old Hyundai Veloster, which had a lot of pace. I mean, especially when I was there at Croft. We'll come on to Croft in just a second, and TCR UK for 2023. But you moved on from having the test, and then, you guys know the family very, very well. And then got the opportunity to run in the Hyundai i30N TCR with the white and pink livery, which you've been very much known for in the TCR UK paddock for the last 2 years. Going into the Audi, you were blown away by it, by just, obviously, first of all, the power. You've got a 2-litre turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine. Folks, for those wondering, TCR cars are on a global platform. They're production-based, and they're anywhere between a 1 3/4 and 2-litre turbocharged engines, 4-cylinder, and you've got a lot of horsepower. You've got north of 340 brake horsepower going through the front wheel. So you've got torque steer, understeer, possibly snap-on oversteer at times, depending on how hard you're pushing the car, trying to rotate it through the corners. What was the biggest thing that surprised you when you got into the i30, having done the test in the Audi initially?
How sensitive the i30 was with the steering. So I believe it's got the quick steering rack in there. So you'd be driving down trying to keep it straight, but the car would be going all over the place. Only the slightest of movements would change the direction of the car. But no, that I love the i30. It's such a nippy little car, and that 2022 season was a massive step up from the junior saloon car championship into TCR. It was very difficult, of course, physically on my neck. That did really, really hurt after my first test day. But yeah, just understanding how the slicks work as well, because with the juniors car, they're on the cut slicks. Learn how to get the best performance out of the slicks on the i30, and it was a challenge. But throughout the whole of the 2022 season, it was a great learning year for me.
And then, of course, joining Bert Taylor in the team at Restart Racing, and then joining alongside 2022 TCR UK champion Chris Smiley. He was piloting the all-new singing and dancing bells and whistles FL5 Honda Civic Type R, and you were in the previous version, which was the FK7. So it was nice to see a little bit of diversity within Restart Racing. Whereas you look at the amount of drivers that have raced in the FK7, such as Thiago Montero, Esteban Guerrieri, to name but just a handful of drivers. To have someone that had a full year's experience and won the title in that car through Chris was very much good to have your teammate, who was the defending champion, who was having his own learning process with the chassis number 1 car from Jazz Motorsport, which was very much sort of being babied quite a bit when I was having chats with Bert and with Chris behind the scenes, and also the guys at Jazz who were also there. They'd sent over 2 of the engineers over from Italy, who, funnily enough, were both from the UK, which was actually quite a nice change. But how good was it to have Chris as a sounding board in adapting from the i30 to the Honda Civic, which didn't have the quick rack, but it was a very different animal altogether?
Yeah, it was an animal. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, it was good to have Chris there, of course, having a year's knowledge of the car, just to ask him questions. Should I be doing this? What brake bar should I be using? Just some of the questions that I was still learning from the previous year that I didn't know. just like how to be aggressive with the car. So
Right.
yeah, so I think with one of the test days, Chris done a lap, and I was always trying to get down to that lap time, and just yeah, Chris was a massive part of that 2023 season, just for me to get a understanding of how I should actually drive a touring car, really. So it's good to have Chris there, and the whole team there, really. Bert, Ben, uh, they've been in the touring car game for a long time.
Yeah.
So taking bits of knowledge off of them, how like from what they've seen, of how to drive that car.
I mean, we actually met in person properly for the very first time at round two in May at Croft in North Yorkshire, and it was a very difficult but very character building weekend. I still remember speaking to you between races 1 and 2, and at that point, the funny thing was is that both Scott and Chris's cars conked out during the race, which I was absolutely gutted about. And then I remember asking you what the problem was, and at that point, the team was still diagnosing it, what the issue was. You still came back to finish P12 in race 2, and obviously Chris also made some inroads as well. I think it was an electrical problem in the end. It was one of the sensors that had been playing a bit of havoc, like an oxygen sensor or something like that, wasn't it?
That's what we thought it was at that Cross weekend.
Okay.
But it wasn't. So it was the engine loom.
Right.
So is that first race? I don't know if it was shortening out somewhere on like the engine or something like that. But I was driving it, just completely cut all power, and so that ruined my race 1. And then race 2 wasn't too bad. Come from the back of the grid to P12, so that was a good race. Just overtaking people, getting into a few battles, but then that problem carried on to Alton Park, the weekend or the round after.
Yeah.
And Friday practice, car was completely fine. Qualifying, car completely fine. Then it got to race 1, went to start it, just wouldn't start. The gears were all over the place, and it was just carnage, really. But the team and I got it sorted, so I actually took the engine loom on the plane over to Italy, to Yaz, when I was doing their driver development program, and we got it sorted, put the new engine loom in, and then that's sort of when the season properly started for me.
I think that was also a good thing, because after that, things really started to go on an upward scale. I mean, after that it was Knock Hill.